Hey guys, RC here, back with episode. What are we on? 3.5 now, I think. I think it's the fifth portion of this episode. We are back with Conference USA. Uh-oh, give me a second. Too much time with the cans on my ears, got an itch. All right, looking at Conference USA, Navy slated to finish 8th. Well, you know what? Tell you what, let's look at the coaches first, see how many humans we've got here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, so we've got 7, so yep, we need to actually look. All right, Navy slated to finish 8th. Kent State in 4th. Miami of Ohio in 5th. Ohio in 10th. Bowling Green in 6th. Eastern Michigan in 11th. Illinois, another Big Ten demoted team, in 7th. Iowa State, a Big 12 demoted team, in 12th. San Diego State in 3rd. Fresno in 2nd. Louisiana Tech in 9th. Is Rice picked to finish 1st here? Yes, they are. The Rice Owls. All right, let's take a look at ownership. Okay, Sean at Fresno. Mike, Texas Mike Smigo at Illinois. Kent State is open, so we're going to go ahead and take them off the discussion list. Roderick McCants at Louisiana Tech. Gary Crane, Sid Olab at Red Hawks. Who is that? I know they've had to have changed their mascot. Miami of Ohio, that's who that is. They used to be called something else. Navy. Caesar at Ohio. Rice, Mike Cart. And Doc over at San Diego State. Excuse me. All right, so that gives us 3 guys, and I don't want to play favorites with the others, so we'll only cover 3 teams from this conference. My apologies. All right, let's see. All right, Fresno. There they were. Sean Rankins recently returned to the league. When was that? Yeah, that was just this year. Sean just came back. I've known Sean forever. Sean is one of the guys that goes back to, I believe he goes back to Gridiron Glory. But I've known of Sean, and we've crossed paths for a long time in these leagues. I remember when he left, it was disheartening, but glad to have him back for sure. Shooting for second place, 196 and 126. 6 conference championships, 21 postseason berths. Opening up with a top 20 Pittsburgh team at Brigham Young, Kentucky, and Colorado to end out the season. Nice balance of home and away, Ranked teams, very good. Kudos to you, Sean. Balanced offense, tight end Claxton Bacon. Well, Bacon makes everything better. We know that, so they ought to be pretty good at tight end. A 52 defense, defensive tackle Brady Metzger. So let's take a look at his depth chart. Now, he's a 62 prestige team. I need to look at that so I can kind of get a gauge for, what we're looking at when compared to, say, Ball State, who was a 40 prestige team. So, we're still seeing a little orange and red, which Ball State really didn't have. So overall depth, but we do see some greens popped in here, which Ball State did not have. So pretty good quarterback, solid enough backup, solid depth at running back and receiver, couple of good tight ends, strong across the front. I mean, Shepard's a 9, so is that a guy that maybe should be redshirted to let him develop fully? Don't know. Even on YouTube, you get junk comments. People trying to spam your thing or troll your page or whatever. That's funny. Can't even escape that on YouTube. But solid depth across the O line. I think offensively they're going to do very well. Plus they brought in the number 43 recruited class. I should have been looking at that. My apologies. Some good pressure off the edges. One good backup. Defensive tackle, they're stout. Gilbert, Cassidy, King. So I mean, they can go 5 deep on the defensive interior. That's really strong. Linebackers, a little weaker at linebacker. Jackson's real strong, but not really much to back him up. Same with Butler. Whitmore, at least you've got some depth, you're 3 deep there, for injuries or whatnot. You've got a solid shutdown corner, some solid depth, and you've got good safety players too. So, this is a team you really start seeing at this 60 level. You can start seeing how a good owner is really putting together a well-rounded team that's starting to have quality players and depth. And, you can see that makes a lot of difference. So I certainly would expect second place is probably in the mix. A top 25 appearance. So that's pretty strong. Let's see. That was Fresno. Now we're going to go down to Rice. Now, Rice, if you're not familiar with them in real life, they are a school in South Central Houston, but they are a private school, so there are no scholarships to go there. You pay your way in real life, so all these scholarships doesn't happen at Rice. That's why their real football team will never be this good. But very, very good school, though. Academically, probably I would put it in the top, probably the top school in the state of Texas, and one of the top schools in the country. Lance Berkman went there from the Astros, played baseball. Let's see. Mississippi State, North Texas on the road. LSU and Temple at home to end the season. So you can see here that that he kind of takes my thought. You play on the road early. Now, I wouldn't play 2 unless, like him, you get 2 home games to open the season. So that wouldn't bother me as much. But then you end strong. So I like the scheduling. Kudos. Balanced offense. Quarterback Jamar Chamberlain. 34 defense. Safety Zachary Garner. Do I have that? Publish. Thank you. 185 and 130, 2 conference championships, 19 postseason berths. Episode 3.4 just went live, and we are working on 3.5 now. So let's look at his depth chart. So again, he's a 68 prestige, so this is a little bit better. Start expecting to see less, no reds, less oranges if any, a lot more yellows, more greens, and maybe you even sneak in a blue. Unlike Idaho, who evidently just recruits those guys off the street. Uh, still bitter. Anyway, all right. So again, you've got a pretty good quarterback, sophomore, 64%, only 5 games last year, didn't start. So he's a sophomore, so he'll probably be a 3-year starter for him. Still kind of weak behind him, but at least you've got a 2 deep system for injuries. Running back, wow, look at this. A 9 rated 5-star running back, number 20 and number 238 in the country. Probably did not show up as a 5-star in the recruiting session, but he has turned into one and down the road. So that's a guy that probably needs to play this year, or he might transfer. So expect him to maybe move up into that depth chart and get plenty of carries. Really solid receiver core. You even have a 5'10" 5-star guy here. A top 100 player recruited this year. That's insane. So it can be done. You'll come up and get a couple here and there. I seem to recall, wasn't it this past year that Rice got like those 5 signings the first week or whatever, and everybody was freaking out. So that's got to be some of those guys. I'm trying to figure out how you knew who to target, and you know how you slip those guys from some of the bigger schools. But kudos, because that's going to make your team, for the next several years. Players like that. Really solid offensive line. I mean, this is really solid. You've got a couple of guys that need to develop. Probably a good idea starting Pugh over Guajardo just because of the upside area. Maybe move Guajardo out to right tackle, but if you don't need him, he'll definitely be a good backup, and you can at least run a rotation there. On the defensive side, I think your weakness is going to be quarterback, but I think you've got enough there that he won't kill you. And if you game plan with him right, you could probably do very well. Defense, it looks like you've been neglecting that on the recruiting front, leaning heavily on the offense, just a guess. But still, very solid across the defensive line, serviceable 2 deep, and even farther in the defensive end spot. You've got McMullen. That's another freshman. Man, that's just another top 60 guy at Rice. How crazy is that? Really good offensive line. Not a lot of depth. Now you've got I'm offense. I'm on the defense. So really solid for the linebacker core. Your outside linebacker's pretty weak. You don't have any depth at all, but you do have really good depth in the middle. So playing a 4 linebacker system, you could take advantage of that. You could move some of those backups out into the outside and boost up your depth there, and I suspect he'll do that. Cornerbacks, you're 3 deep. Safeties, you've got a really good one in Garner. Church and Goad are going to be pretty good as well. I'd say he's got an all-around good team. Some of the depth issues could come back to hurt Rice if they face some injuries this year, but all in all, you got to like what you see there. Moving on from Rice, the last team we're going to cover here, San Diego State and Doc. I'll be honest, I don't know a lot about Doc. I know he's been in the league for a while, but he's one of those guys that's just below the radar. I don't think I've ever talked to him at all, but he certainly seems to know his way around the game, and he's been one of the powerhouses from the Wolverine games, PFS and Draft Day Sport, the college football game as well. So I don't know, I know that's where I've seen a lot of him, but just, I don't know a lot about him. For somebody who's been in the league for a while, he's one of the few guys that I can say I don't know very well. Um, anyway, let's see. At Stanford, Vanderbilt, and then Tulsa and Colorado State. Okay, I think that's his other out of conference game. Yeah, because they're in the Mountain West. So Stanford, Vanderbilt, Colorado State, Tulsa. Taking a look at our depth chart, Hammond will be pretty good. Not much depth behind him. Probably Beal's the best long-term guy there, but Hammond is a junior, so I'd be hoping to land somebody next year, this coming recruiting season. Very solid at running back and fullback so again, you can already tell just looking at the board, depth, quality of depth, and then getting some of the guys to develop. But Woodbury, uh, that looks like a transfer player, I would guess. Looks like he transferred out as a freshman from somewhere, sat out a year, played last year as a sophomore, this year as a junior. So I think that's a transfer guy. Junior, I would say the same thing. He's probably a transfer. He's probably a transfer. So it looks like he went real heavy on the offensive line on transfers. Probably either was a JUCO or a sophomore transfer. Uh, Probably a JUCO, because if he was a sophomore transfer, I would expect to have seen some freshman stats, or he would have transferred that year. So, and Joyner, he has not redshirted. So this guy was actually recruited by San Diego State. So really good. Some good, some decent depth. Not so good at tackle. Center and guard, they're pretty good. Then go actually four deep at guard. Dane's going to be really good. Number 40 guard in the country, a top 750 player. Defense, again, you see a lot of reds here, but if you look across the board, I'm seeing at least two deep everywhere except middle linebacker. He's probably a freshman, yep. And Tanner is a redshirt junior. So 22, redshirted him in 23. That could have been a freshman year, transferred, sat out, sophomore, junior. Tanner was probably a transfer guy as well, if I had to guess, just by looking at him. So he jumps out for sure. You're gonna have quality in the middle, but you've got plenty of guys around him to support him. You've got more coming off the edge. Darkins can come off the edge as well if he moves over. You're really deep at defensive tackle. That's really good. Linebacker, you're too deep with the exception of middle linebacker. You've got a 3 and a 4 safety, a corner that'll be really good. Gal will be really good. And you're 3 deep at safety. So, yeah, I don't see any problems here. I think they'll probably be able to give Rice a run for their money. Probably what that'll come down to is quarterback play, and I think that'll give it to Rice. But San Diego State will certainly make an impact in the conference this year. All right, that's going to finish up that conference. Let's look at the Big 12. We've got, first off, how many coaches do we have there? We've lost a lot of coaches. We're looking for more owners to come in. Darren, and I'm not even sure he's at Baylor anymore. I thought he stepped down. Boise left. Sean's at Colorado. These 3 teams are habitually open. Kansas State actually went on a good run there for a while. Danny won the North last year. JCW, James, is back at Oklahoma. Then you got me, Homer, and Myril. I tell you what, I'm going to go ahead and cover. Well, let me see. We've already covered Sean's other team. I know we're going to cover Maryland. Let's go ahead and cover North Texas. I'm going to skip Texas because I'll cover Michigan for sure. We'll cover A&M because I haven't covered any of Homer's teams yet. Of course, Homer hates me, so maybe I shouldn't cover him anyway. All right, and we'll cover Myrle at Tech because I need to bitch about him and recruiting quarterbacks again. So we won't. We can go through real quick. Colorado is picked to finish fifth. K-State eighth. Baylor seventh. Oklahoma third. North Texas fourth. So they're already a top 4 program in the conference. Sixth place for Boise State. They're not a bad team if somebody come in and salvage them. Kansas 12th place. Missouri 11th place. Oklahoma State 10th place. A&M 9th. Texas Tech 1st and Texas 2nd. But of course, we won't be covering me. I may run through my team since I'm the one doing the radio show. I may run through it real quick. We've got about 5 minutes left in the episode. I tell you what, why don't we go ahead and put a cut in here? We've already kind of covered, I know, the 4 teams. As we get into the Power 5 with more human owners, I'll try to cover teams mainly that we haven't, owners that we haven't covered yet. And then if there's a top 4, 2 or 3 team, maybe I'll go ahead and add them in, but we'll do 5 at the most. 4 is what my target is. So we'll see. But let me go ahead and put a cut in here, and we will come back. So we've done Conference USA, and we will come back for the Big 12. And then we have the Big 10, the Big East, and we'll finish off with the mighty ACC, or at least Maryland and her 9 redheaded stepchildren. So thanks for checking out the video. We'll see you next time. Take care.